Hello, hola, buenos días, noches, tardes. Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Trascendencia en Acción. Soy la doctora Xochitl Yadira y como siempre es un placer tenerlos aquí. Este episodio lo vamos a hacer en Spanglish, así de que ya saben, conéctese en YouTube y usen los captions en el lenguaje que mejor les prefieran para que puedan entender todo el contenido. So it's such a privilege to be here again on this episode and now welcoming an awesome friend of mine, Araceli, who's going to be talking and walking us through the journey of all the amazing things you're doing, and we'll go into the history, but mostly about your new book. So welcome, Araceli.
Gracias.
So excited to finally have you here. I know it's been a lot of we got to get you here.
I know.
So I'm going to start with a little bit of context.
Yeah.
So Araceli and I met a couple years ago through some introductions. And I had the honor of participating as one of your keynote speakers for an event of Quiero Dinero with mujeres. What is it?
Midwest
Mujeres.
Yes.
I was going to say something else, but I'm like, that's another kind of mujeres grupo. Midwest mujeres. And you're mostly in Madison, but you operate throughout the greater Milwaukee area.
As well, yes.
Awesome. So it's been a long and coming conversation and all the amazing work that you already do in our community. But let's talk a little bit more about who you are. So let's start with that. Tell us, who is Araceli? Where are you from? Where your roots are from? And where did you grow up? If in Madison, here in Milwaukee, tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, my God. Bueno, yo soy Araceli Esparza. Nací aquí, crecí aquí en Madison, Wisconsin. So, como una hora de Milwaukee. Mis papás son de Guanajuato, México. Y pues sí, fui al colegio a la Universidad de Minnesota, Twin Cities. Mi bachelete está en criminología, en Chicano Studies. Estudios de la historia de chicanos de 1960 para adelante. Y bueno, tomé mi maestría. ¿Qué te puedo decir? Tengo 2 hijos, estoy casada, feliz, casada. Soy hija, mi abuela, la señora que nos trajo aquí en ACU hace en los 70s que se vino, pues paz descanse, ¿no? Entonces, pero todavía tenemos familia en México en que contamos, en quien visitamos. También mi esposo es de la Ciudad de México, entonces voy muchas veces. I go very often. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much grew up like an East Sider. And if anyone's listening from Madison, y'all know, I mean, it's considered the other side of town.
Yeah.
Let's just say, like, the other side of town. And that gives us a reputation, but also gives us the tenacity and knowledge to know, like, the real history of our city and of our state. And so I've early on worked for the Dane County Office of Equal Opportunities in the county exec's office. Single mom at that time, juggling that job, a couple other jobs, and then coming up in that way. And that's how I got like kind of my entrance into like politics and like the echelons of like the city and the state, and working really closely in that aspect. I actually worked in department administration as well at DOA, and also then like some other nonprofit organizations over the years. And in my career trajectory, became a fundraiser and a grant writer. So me gusta mucho escribir. Empecé a escribir por dinero. Y me gusta mucho abocar para que la gente dé donaciones para estas organizaciones. Entonces hice mucho de ese trabajo. Y luego llegó a un punto que de eso se trata el libro. That's what the book's about. Came a point in time where, I ended up being racially discriminated against. And I won't say it was the first time, no fue la primera, tal vez ni va a ser la última, ¿no? Pero sí fue un momento en la cual en tu carrera tratas de lograr tanto, ¿verdad? Pero nadie te dije que después, lo que pasa después de que lo logras.
Yeah, I can relate.
Right, exacto. Entonces eso ha sido un poco de mi crecimiento. Soy muy orgullosa de tener mis hijos y tener una mamá una abuela que trabajaron para el Estado también. Ellas, las dos, madres solteras, o sea, somos de 3 generaciones de madres solteras. Y hasta que me casé, luego ya se rompió eso, pero total, fue algo que de verdad me enseñó a mí la fuerza de lo que es una mujer.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go back a little bit about your upbringing. So you grew up with strong women and seeing that role modeling.
Yeah.
When was that itch for you as you were talking about, like, I'm going to go into criminal justice and I want to study? Like, when did that start? And was it because of what you were witnessing growing up with two figures that
Yeah.
were into a lot of this work already? Or where did that spark, where that interest come from?
I think, oh, wow. I know it started like, as I said, growing up in a single parent household. Unfortunately, my mom was also like abused.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of drugs and alcohol. And my stepfather was kind of a game banger. And so kind of like he had a lawyer, like stereotypical short man with a pinky ring lawyer. And it was really, so from those experiences of reading about this man, I had to read about my own stepfather in the newspaper. Like I knew who probation officers were. I knew what mules were and so forth. And all of that. And from that, I decided I wanted to go into criminal law. Mm-hmm. One, to understand the cycles of criminalization in our community, and how do they start and how do they get so quiet? Like they are just socially accepted. Mm-hmm. And when I kept on thinking, when is my Prince Charming, or when is this person, or why isn't the police doing something, or why those folks could never break those things from the outside. And so I kind of wanted to understand how did these things keep on getting perpetuated? Mm-hmm. And in fact, sometimes even make it worse when you have intervention from the criminal justice industry. So it was, so I've been definitely just as impacted, and that, focused me in my criminology. And I was going to become a lawyer, then I become a single parent. And I said, after that part, I was like, I have to dedicate myself more to my kid, and then got into doing community organizing and activism work in Southside Madison with Alex G and the G family, who now are the founders of this huge Black Center of Excellence in Madison's South Side. So I always tie myself to other key leaders in our community, because I'm like, had it not been for them in my early 20s and that intervention by Verlene G and the G family, and then other folks at the county exec's office, had they not put me in positions of apprenticeship in a way, right, to leadership, I would have not gone as far as I have in life.
Yeah, and that Absolutely. Is so critical, and we've talked a lot about that before, having the right people, the right access, people believing in you and seeing through that. But I want to go back a little bit to where this all ignited from. It's always from experience. It's always from this wanting to learn where are things coming from, and then that truly dictates the rest of your life and the paths that we take in every direction. So obviously, as you transcended through those moments and you grew up in your career, and we're connecting trascendencia. That's why we call it trascendencia, because you really transcend through life into moments that really propel you into taking action in different directions. Yes. So tell us a little bit about, through your journey, you mentioned that you worked in different places, learned a lot of different things. Yes. In which moment was it that you said to yourself, I am meant to not just operate and run an organization like Midwest Mujeres and found it, and then coming to the resolution of, you know what, my story has a lot of journey to be told. How do you put it in a book? How did all that happen? And then we'll focus on the book.
Oh, yeah. So for our audience, myself, we've talked a lot about my accolades, right? Las cosas buenas. Pero también ha habido muchas cosas malas. Like I also, was arrested as an adolescent. There were times, I was running away. I was doing bad things too. Yeah. I was trying to live a lot of different lives. Being the firstborn in this country of my whole family, there was enormous pressure to perform, to go to college, to do things. I went to college to escape and actually have a home that was like away and quiet, because I needed some silence from all of the chaos and so forth. I also learned in my adulting that I have a learning disability. I have dyslexia to some extent that is actually a reading, which is interesting, that I love to read a lot, and I like to, write a lot too. So I think it's kind of like what God gives you because of like the other things that, maybe you might be lacking in. Right. So I really believe in all of that. And going back to like, how did I decide to become a director? Let's just say I fought it tooth and nail for at least 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason why was because I had been hurt so bad by the nonprofit industry. And I don't know how many of your guests have been nonprofit leaders.
Many.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, it's
hard.
It's hard work. And it's work that nobody gives you the things.
Right.
Nobody gives you the things.
Yeah.
It's like your left hand don't tell you what your right hand does. There's definitely a lot of politics and a lot of favorites and so forth. The very people who get put, who you see getting awards or et cetera, is not the very people who are really doing the work. And that's really hard. And it turns on you and all this habit, although the model is so beautiful. The model in of itself, I really do believe in the model of giving back. And I do believe in El Corazon, the nonprofit work, but it is difficult. It is really difficult. And so because I did, for all those reasons, I fought it. But then I understood that communicating exactly what we were doing, it was easier to say it's a nonprofit organization. But I was really brought to this level of leadership by the very people we were impacting. So we started during the pandemic. We did all of these videos and we did some podcasts talking to local businesses, Latino businesses, encouraging them to take the precautions of COVID-19. That's really where it started. It was on Facebook Live. So I would do these anti-Blackness in the Latino community talks where we'd have all these Latinos that were suddenly running for office in Madison. We've never had this, just this wave. All of a sudden 1 year, I remember it was 2020, we had 11 people.
Yeah.
And I had all of them mujeres. So all of us did a podcast together, live and took over face. And, I always say we're sister cities to Milwaukee, pero there's some jealousy entre las dos a veces, right? Because Dane County, I'm going to go on a little bunny trail if you don't mind, but Dane County, it does not have the highest population of Latinos in the state of Wisconsin, and yet we are quite smart little ratas because we get most funding. We are number 4 in the state per capita. So there's disparities even amongst ourselves in each other, and so that to me says a lot. And it all came from the Hispanic Collaborative report that was done, I believe in 2022, 3 is when you guys started doing that and really talking about Latinos in Wisconsin and so forth. My people have been here since the 1970s. We started in Waukesha Cannery and we were picking vegetables, Nebraska, Dakotas, and then coming up that way. And Madison was she ended up in Madison because she got a cleaning job at the state. And through this little church, this little corner church that they gave us called Centro Guadalupe, and that's how we ended up staying. Because I think too, that is an interesting thing too, where you end up staying. And it was not populous during that time. We would drive to Milwaukee to get tortillas.
Wow. No, I believe it.
Yeah. And I remember doing that in going to El Rey and todo eso. So there's always been that connection. And with the podcasting and the talking with people. And one day I was just why don't I open this up? Start it and then start this conversation about my story. We in 2011, and Mauri and myself, I had gotten let go of DOA, and so I was irritated. Very
you lost your job.
I didn't make probation.
Okay.
And I was very, very, very upset about that. And so we took what we could and we're you know what? Forget Madison. I'm done with this place. I'm done with the tokenism. It's te mata. And tokenism, and que los favoritos, y que esta sí, que esta no, que las comadres, y que todo eso te cansa y te enfada al punto de querer irte, y me largué a la mera. And so we left, and during that time, if people remember, there was also a lot of criminalization happening in Mexico. Yeah. That was the year, and I believe in 2012, when they found this reporter dead in Mexico City. They found 7 heads in Monterrey or por ahí. Yeah. So it was a bad year.
A whole wave of violence.
There was a whole wave of violence in those years. And so, of course, we decided to go.
Wow.
Mauri ends up getting at gunshot, like taken.
Oh
yeah,
my
at
God.
gunpoint. At
And
gunpoint.
who's
gunshot
Maori?
point.
I'm sorry?
My husband.
Your husband,
yes.
okay.
So he's there on a truck going down there with
Oh
all
my
of us stuff. We were
God.
about to start a turkey farm in Mexico. And
That's horrible.
I was in a plane. And so we find him the next morning.
Wow.
Like some trailer guy like drove him back to the city.
That's
Back to
so
Mexico
scary.
City. Yeah. Oh, it was very scary. He almost died. He literally almost died. They made him like take all his stuff, everything, and like he lost like his passport and everything. Basically, we were back to square one where he has no papers, and
Wow.
here we are. And
Talk
luego está ni yo no tengo papeles. Después de que gasta uno miles de dólares que para los papeles y que no sé qué, y luego para que te lo quiten todo.
Sí.
Y luego una troca. No. Fue muchísimas
Yeah,
cosas.
especially Mexico is like so bad. It's interesting because you reminded me years ago. So we have the blessing of traveling to my husband's hometown almost every year to the fiestas del rancho, we call them. And it was several years ago when the violence was really heightened. And we were leaving. I think we have 11 godkids. And I think it was we were baptizing one of our kids. And during the church, there was a complete blackout. And we just thought, well, it's la feria, maybe the light went out, whatever. And then later we found out that it was an organized crime because they were like taking cars and whatnot. And so they had, what do they call it? Like un parón, where they had like, police officers and people like in masks and stuff with, guns and whatnot. And so they had an inspection point. So you couldn't leave the town or the feria or the fair without being, getting through that. And I remember our kids were so young. They were sitting in the back seat and it was my husband and I. And then this guy comes out our window and he's so like angry, yelling at us. Like, who are you? Where are you going? And he was just like, I'm like, dude, we're just passing by. And it was a very moment of scariness because I thought, I'm like, this guy has literally the finger and the trigger. And it's not a gun, it's a metralleta. We have our kids, and I like a million things were going through my head. Thank God my husband was so calm. And then another officer comes behind him and taps him in the shoulder and goes like, it's okay, they're from here. And then he lets us go.
Wow.
But as you were saying that, it's such a flashback because these moments of violence come and go so much in our beloved countries. And sometimes we don't even know if you're really trusting someone, maybe it's like someone from a criminal or someone that it's an officer. You just don't know. But the wave of criminalization hits very differently. And thank God for us, nothing happened. But I can't even imagine after going through that and then having your papers taken away. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, that's huge trauma.
It was huge trauma. And I think, we lost close to like $50,000 in materials, not to mention what we had already invested in his papers and so forth. And then having to come back, like, what was it, like 9 months later or something? We ended up. God.
So you basically saved up money to go start a business over there. You went and invested it, and then it was all taken away from you guys.
Yeah, one night.
Holy cow.
Yeah, one night. It was that and almost his life. Hands down, I'm so glad it was all that and not his life. Hands down.
Material stuff, right? Comes and goes. Right. Life,
But like what I always say, we lost $50,000 some dollars that night, but it took us at least like 4 years to get over the post-traumatic stress disorder stuff that him and I were both going through. I mean, all I ever had was what I had in my suitcase that day. Yeah. That was it. That's everything crazy. Was in the trailer pitched, like albums. And there's an album that I always think of. It had Mi Familia, and my sister had written on, had with nail polish, put Mi Familia on there, and it was white, silver album. And I think about every single picture in that album. Yeah. And just like the toys, the Lego sets that my son had, like thousands of dollars worth of Legos, like just gone. And I'll never forget the next day when I told him and he cried, and we both all cried about our things. And then he stopped, and I'm like, what's up, honey? He's like, well, I can't be sad forever, Mom. Wow. And that was our first step of healing. Yeah. We can't be sad forever.
And how crazy. I'm going to go back to something pivotal here. We hear stories always, most of the time, about people coming here in pursuit of the American dream, and you work and you save money, and then you're doing the reverse. You're like, I'm done with all this bullshit, so we're going to take everything we have and let's go to our tierra, Mexico, and then let's start a business, and then you guys get robbed completely
Por
out
nuestra
of
propia gente.
yeah, by your own people, by the way, which sadly we know it's pretty common,
Es
unfortunately.
muy común.
And I would say
común.
that is one of the biggest reasons. I have a lot of family that drive to Mexico for the holidays and they take their trucks. And I have told my husband, number one, I can't drive very long distances because I have really bad sciatica, so I wouldn't be comfortable. But I have always been in denial because I remember all the stories that I hear from people that they literally will take your trucks, all your belongings, and leave you sometimes in the middle of nowhere with all your family, kids. They don't care. They don't care. Or they'll kill people over material stuff, which is even worse to your point. So it's like this story of you wanting to escape, so much happening here in pursuit of something en tu propia tierra. Then this traumatic event happens. Then you have to deal with the politics of the country, which I have to say, the U.S. politics sucks, but our processes I love because we actually can track a process, even it takes forever. But there's a process that can be followed through, where in Mexico, even just getting a simple ID is such a nightmare. Like,
Nos tomó, to your point, it took us 3 months just to get the Mexican passport so that we can then verify and validate his American citizenship, apparently. Todo eso fue un caos. Está el acta de nacimiento y todo eso fue... Yo pensé que trabajaba allí en la oficina
might
de
as
acta.
well, right?
Ay, pues sí, tantas veces que estábamos allí. Era una depresión grande. Pero pues sí, es la burocracia de México que nunca voy a entender. En ese tiempo, o sea, yo quería hacerme ciudadana de México, pero no podía porque no estoy en comunicación con mi papá. Entonces, no, en esos años no podías. Ahora sí que nomás que por la mamá. Y voy a intentar a ver si este verano lo hago, pero es algo que, pues sí, tengo que hacerlo porque estoy casada con alguien que es de México. Entonces, si quiero un día hasta llevarlo, que no Dios quiera, cosas así, son muy difíciles. Son muy difíciles la burocracia. Eso. Te voy a decir, creo que es igual o peor que los Estados Unidos. Creo que es peor en unas maneras. No es por nada, es más concentrado. Está poniendo que sale en la escuela o poniendo a mi hijo en la escuela was so difficult. It was so incredibly difficult. Expensive porque allá está la escuela pública. Tienes que tener tu vistaje, tienes que vestirte de un cierto modo, portarte de un cierto modo, tener todos estos materiales, más comida, más todo. No, es una cosa, una cosa muy impresionable. Y luego de cuando regresamos, pues ya no teníamos dónde vivir, and so we were like pretty much homeless for like a good year and a half. We ended up in Jersey. So after like we were robbed, then nature came and got us with the Hurricane Sandy.
God.
It just gets better, friends. I promise.
No wonder she has a book.
Por eso tengo un libro. Por eso. Sí. Y luego toda una semana sin la electricidad. Fue una cosa impresionable. Y estuvimos viviendo en New Jersey. Y en ese tiempo tiene que ver un poco con el libro en eso que me puse a conocer mujeres latinas que eran escritoras. Cosa aquí en el medio oeste, seamos francas, tanto en Milwaukee y en Madison, hemos visto un crecimiento de autoras locales, pero en los últimos 5 años, ¿sí o no? Ha sido los últimos 5 años. So, imagínate, yo he estado escribiendo desde que tenía 21 años. En todos esos años no tenía nadie que me decía, no, pues es Chicago, pues sí, ok. Pero el esfuerzo para de verdaderamente conectarte como una escritora en Chicago es difícil también. Cuando estaba en New Jersey, por cualquier modo, tal vez porque la novedad que no era de allí, pues como que hubo más comunidad. Y conocí a otras mujeres escritoras, se me invitaban a sus casas y hacíamos círculos de escritura, de journaling, en clubs de journaling, todo eso fue muy, muy bonito. Todas eran de Puerto Rico, Dominicana, conocí varios tipos de colombianas, comidas, diferentes costumbres. El ambiente allá es muy diferente en Nueva York, en New Jersey. Siento que el noticiero allá es más real que la de aquí. Ahí sí como que supe las verdades, lo que pasaba en los Estados Unidos a veces, porque aquí están las noticias de Wisconsin, siento que no nos dan las verdaderas noticias como son. So, era muy diferente la vida allí, y crecí mucho allí acerca de quién soy y qué es lo que quiero. Entonces, en ese tiempo empecé a investigar de verdaderamente mi historia. Obviamente pasamos por tantas cosas profundas y luego regresando a Madison en 2016.
Wow.
Regresamos a Madison. Entre 2 años compramos nuestra casa.
Wow.
Todo lo que nos quitaron, mira,
Sí.
Diez
You got it
veces.
all back. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
10 veces más
And
me
that's
los
not
dio.
too far away. I mean, that's like 10 years ago. When you
Sí.
when you put it into context and having to go through all of that, oh my God, that's crazy.
Y ya éramos grandecitos, ya no éramos de los 20, o sea, ya estábamos medios grandecitos.
Yeah, and you weren't starting in a way from scratch. You were starting from knowledge. You were starting
Sí.
from experience.
Exactly. I was starting from experience y teníamos un poco de una comunidad, una experiencia, pero pues moralmente te voy a decir que sí se sintió, sí se tomó un poco de tiempo para sentirnos cómodos. Hay días donde mi esposo y yo todavía hablamos de tiempos cuando no teníamos ni para hacer un pastelito para el cumpleaños de Quetzal o algo así, como que nos toma trauma de esos momentos tan difíciles.
Sí, pero pues son momentos que son lecciones de vida.
Ay, la
que
verdad,
te ayudan a realmente to pivot and to shift and to really think about, okay, this happened, this came to us, what do we learn from it? How do we move from here? So take us then into, I mean, that's a lot of experiences. At what point then in this transition, right, you're like, you know what? You start Midwest Mujeres, and then you start with all this work, and you're like, you know what? I need to publish my book. Tell us a little bit. How did you start that process? How did you go about publishing? You are a self-published author. So walk us through the journey.
Yeah. So it took a couple of moments, like writing, obviously, and just like formatting. I hired a writing coach, and then we did this whole thing over the weekend where we plotted like every chapter, etc. Like I had to pick a thing. Like that's the hardest thing. It's just pick one thing.
I was going to say, how do you pick it from all the experiences or the lived experiences?
The lived experiences. So really what she said to me and stays with me today is like, what is the one thing that you want to tell people? What is the one thing? And I want to say to people, like, even though you've been racially discriminated against work, you have a right. You have a right to work without discrimination. You have a right to work and be who you are. I grew up with so many women telling me about workplace discrimination. My mom was exposed to chemicals at UW Physical Plant. She got hepatitis B.
Wow.
My grandmother was hit over the head and got like seizures, for the rest of her life. And at work, so many of us get hurt on their job.
Right.
And so it was something that I had experienced as a social worker, listening to so many people's stories about workplace injuries. And so I felt like this was the one thing I could talk about that was long form. So I've been poetry writing for many years. I had my master's in fine arts and creative writing. I've published quite a few like sections or chapters of anthologies and poetry and so forth. But this is like the longest, man. This was like huge. This was hard, yo. This was hard to write 130 some pages straight. There's a lot of illustrations. There's moments where you can journal in my book. And there's just like all these different things. But let me talk about that, 2019. So, hello, my name is Araceli Esparza. And in 2019, I found myself in an elevator crying. I was shaking with adrenaline and pure violence. The Chola teenage delinquent, a persona I had worked so hard to suppress, came out. She wanted revenge. She wanted blood. At that moment, I felt my grandmother's hand on my shoulder, and I could hear her telling me, Ari, ponlo en las manos de Dios. Put it in God's hands. The elevator opened, and the woman that I had chased out of this party was not there. Instead of looking for her, I walked straight to my car, started laughing, crying, and calling my friend. I drove to her house, and she talked me down. At that moment, I had a choice.
Wow. And in talking about, right, like this is the intro into the journey, into perspective, and this is what it's about. How did then from that moment did you carry forward everything that was going to be in your book?
Right.
Because like you said, putting together, I mean, when I did my research, when I did my my dissertation is about 190 something pages.
Oh my God.
But remember, a big portion of it is research data. So there's a lot of numbers and data and things that go in there. But I have such a hard time taking all of that knowledge and compressing it because it's very research driven. So that it's very technical in language. It's really hard to follow because it's research. And how do you take all that lived experience and everything that you have in your heart and your knowledge in your brain and put it in a narrative such that it connects with people?
Right.
What was that process like as you were working with your coach and identifying, this is what I want this story and the message to be in my book?
We utilize a lot of techniques. Voice to text. Sometimes it's just easier to voice it out. Making sure that you have all the elements. Setting is, I mean, you saw the setting. I was like, chased her out of a party. I'm in the parking lot. Those are elevators. Like all of those things help to like bring the story to a real place. And I also think character. There was it's magical realism. You know, having my grandmother there. I said my ghostly grandmother's hand, like because she had already passed.
Right.
And so the magical realism, I think that's like very much us. That's very much our cultura, ¿no? Es donde vivimos en varios diferentes dimensions, se puede decir.
Oh my God. Oye, empezando con el cucuy, no te subes porque el cucuy te va a venir a...
Yeah,
You know, like,
lo
think
empezamos
about it.
desde chiquito.
Yeah.
Lo empezamos desde chiquito. Que la llorona, que el cucuy, you know, todas esas cosas, diferentes creencias que tenemos de jóvenes sin que hablamos de esas cosas.
And
como,
it's ingrained in
it's ingrained in us y no es algo raro. La muerte no es algo raro. Es más, la muerte en los Estados Unidos está vista como una cosa, o sea, como terminal, y para nosotros nomás es una fase de varios de la parte de la vida.
I mean, look at how many movies like Coco do we have, right? I mean, it's so true.
Sí. Y hablando de todo eso, en mi libro vas a ver que hay una mano de un esqueleto en un monito.
Okay.
Y se trata de la tema del esqueleto en la... I had this chapter, it's called Monkey Mind and Skeleton Hand. Y hablo de esas cosas siempre cuando estoy presentando en grupos, especialmente de mujeres regulares. Ahora sí, las mujeres que no escriben, porque yo sé que todas ustedes quieren escribir, pero nadie lo hace. O sea,
las que decimos que somos normales, pero no somos normales.
Exactly. Entonces, ¿cómo las convenzo?
Exactly.
¿Cómo las convenzo de utilizar la escritura? Y las convenzo por esa manera de hablando de que tranquilizar la cabecita de mono, porque quiere hacer varias cosas, o la mano crítica, la mano de muerte, que le saco ahí la mano de un esqueletito. So we make it fun. Lo hacemos divertido. Porque ¿quién va a ganar?
El lector.
Tú tienes que ganar. Tú tienes que ganar. Y puse muchas poesías aquí entre el libro. Me tomó como 13 meses.
Wow.
13 meses, 3 muertes, 3 países y 6 aviones, creo. Durante todo este tiempo lo escribí. Me encantó escribiéndolo a veces cuando estaba en el avión. Me encantó escribiéndolo por mano. Lo hacía diferentes secciones. Y cuando hablas de que tuvimos tanto, sí había muchas partes que tuve que recortar. Lo tienes que leer y leer y leer de nuevo y una vez. Es costoso porque uno dice, Amazon. Guess what? Amazon's going down, baby. Like, nobody likes Amazon. Hay algunas gentes, no todas, pero hay alguna gente que no les gusta. Propósitamente no van a comprar ya más en Amazon. Y esa numeración está creciendo diario. Sí. Entonces, tenía que yo estar asegurada que está publicada en todos lugares. Está en México, globalmente. Entonces, ese es otro costo. Uno piensa, ya lo publiqué en Amazon, todo el mundo lo va a conseguir. Falso, porque de verdadmente... lo tienes que poner por otra ISBN.
Es toda una producción.
Es otra producción completa que se tiene que hacer. Y durante ese tiempo yo me averigüé de haciendo esto. Esto es un negocio. O sea, teniendo un libro, siendo autora, es todo un negocio. Entonces pude escribirme una beca, a grant for writing my book. So that's kind of like how I did it. Yeah. Porque lo presenté como que si fuera parte de mi negocio. Y lo es, porque hablo de lo que hago, los talleres que hablo de creatividad.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It's truly an investment.
Lo es, porque es una tarjeta como de tu conocimiento. Y es algo personal, pero si lo lees, también tiene allí preguntas, como cada capítulo tiene action strategies que hago, or even a healing activity. So one thing that I found too durante todo este caso was that not everybody was my friend. Not everybody was going to be my ally. Like some people were like,
And sometimes you'll find
Yeah.
that in people the least expected as well.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's like-
Absolutely. Son los que dicen, ay, yo estoy aquí para ti, yo te ayudo, y yo soy community justice, y no sé qué, y qué la chingada, pero al final de cuentas te baten
Ni sus luces.
Ándale, ni sus luces porque por todo es político.
Ajá.
Porque la mujer o la organización la cual me atacó, pues hizo. They had big shoes. I couldn't
Yeah.
even go to my common legal advocacy office in town because they're somehow envueltos con
Yeah.
la otra organización.
Yeah.
So I had to really step out of my circle to even get help on a nationwide. But that's
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what happens.
So
Yeah.
what's the title of your book? So for those
yes.
that are listening to us, you can find it in pretty much
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called Healing from Racial Discrimination. Ahora que, now what? 7 strategies for navigating and healing from discrimination in the workplace. Ahora que, now what? Like, ¿qué vas a hacer? ¿Qué? ¿Ahora
Yeah.
qué? Ahora qué vas a hacer? And that's literally what I asked myself after that. I had a choice.
Yeah.
At that moment, I had a choice to either keep living my life like the angry chola and be like always talking about what had happened to me, or utilizing what happened to me to help others. Because if I can tell the story that freed me, I can help others free themselves.
Wow.
And that's exactly what I want to do.
And that's so powerful. I love the title though.
Thank you.
Obviously we'll be tagging it in here and we'll be, uploading a picture for those that can watch the video, but it is available in pretty much all of the stores right online.
Yeah,
They can find your
Book
page.
Hub,
Yep.
Half Price Book
So we'll
Store,
put the links, but walk us a little bit through your chapters. Like walk us through what is the storyline, what is the narrative of your book. I love how you went into this methodological, like it's a narrative where you're telling the story, but you're bringing elements of takeaways that are lessons, that are tangible. Because oftentimes, I love reading, but sometimes you read a story and it's just that. It's a story. It's a novel. And yeah, it's a learning and there's an experience, but oftentimes you don't use it as a guide or it doesn't have like a takeaway, right? And I love books that can teach you something and then you can apply it immediately. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I enjoy as well. And that's who you should write to. It's like you're writing to yourself and like what you would want to read.
Yeah.
What is it that you would like to read, and imagining your audience in that way. So chapter 3. Know your rights. You have a right to be sad. You have a right to be angry. You have the right to be silent. You have the right to scream. You have the right to be frustrated. You have the right to do nothing. You have the right to pursue another job, even though that might not be the best thing right now. You have the right to pause. You have the right to yell in your car while you're driving down the street. You have the right to smile. You have the right to laugh. You have the right to screw up. You have the right to have the blues. You have the right to cry. You have the right to shake. You have the right to go on a vacation. You have the right to heal. Know your rights.
Wow.
Because oftentimes we're thinking about the rights that we have and we think we have no rights. But we have, every day we have a right. We have a right to exist and be liberated. And that's really my North Star. That's really what I want, is liberation for radical joy. Because in my book, I say, liberation is not just the only destiny. Because the return on that investment, the return on that is joy. And when we work from joy, when we're going back to the nonprofit Corazon, when we're doing that work, like, it's going to come to you.
Yeah.
It's going to come to you. The money will come, the agency, the organization. And money to me is energy. And I just want to help facilitate more energetic people and lives and movements so that they can be fulfilled as well. Yeah. And I wish that upon everybody, even my haters, because I love y'all.
Hey, the more you wish your haters well, the more wealth comes to you, right?
Right.
And abundance and everything.
Absolutely.
What were other elements in this healing journey that really called out to you in this process?
I talk about it at the end about becoming a worthy opponent. That concept right now with what's been going on with Palestine, with what's been going, the genocide in Palestine, let's be honest, has been going on. And there was a woman on Instagram, and she's like, I don't need your tears. I don't need this letter from you. I need y'all to become worthy opponents.
Right.
And when I heard that, I was like, ooh. And I was like, there's a mass firing going on. We deserve to be respected and comfortable in our workplace. That is a human right. People are being forced to hide or live in fear while driving. There's a Latina, Anne Frank, hiding from ICE in an attic. Latino kids are learning to remain calm, show their hand, maintain silence, and call a lawyer. How do we move from here? Forward, under, above? Where is it safe? I propose through. We must see through this fire and patterns of chaos and become the worthy opponent to fear and hate. Does that mean getting healthy? It could. And I kind of go in and about that. And that's really the process, is like kind of questioning, like, where are we morally? Yeah. Where are we morally? Where are you morally? Where's your North Star? What is your navigation? Mm-hmm. And my navigation is liberation. My navigation is that radical joy that I know that Midwest gives to other women, and we give them rest, and in their own storytelling, they're able to finally descansar un poco because now the story's out. Like, I've had women utilize the stage as a way to confront past abusers. Yep. Talk about their family histories, and say, you saw that. Yeah. Talk about their family histories and stories. Talk about how they were going to die. And it's something that we only, as a cultura, we only really use that as a quinceañera, maybe, but even the quinceañeras don't get to talk about their quince story. Right. It's all ceremony, ritual.
When and it's not even their quinceañera, it's a family's quinceañera.
Yes, exactly. It's a family's quinceañera. And so when do we actually allow ourselves to tell those stories? Cuando estamos entre otras mujeres and we're like, yeah. Pero ¿sabes qué? It needs to go past the circle de mujeres. It needs to go past the circle. And that's been pretty obvious in the last couple of years with the onslaught of violence against mujeres in our country and in Mexico and other countries. There's been such an increase against violence against mujeres. And so the stories de mujeres need to come outside of the circles de mujeres. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. Yeah.
And in a very safe and protected manner, too, that is not a taboo, that is not sought out as something bad or something that shouldn't be talked about. And, it's interesting as you say that, because one of the things that I've been very vocal about is that we still live in a world where, although we have come a long way when it comes to feminism and how we show up in leadership, yet there are so many women leaders that are still carrying a lot of the machismo personalities and that prevent other women from rising up, or that are the gatekeepers of the wealth of knowledge and power. And it's so sad because you see it happening even in our own community, what you were saying earlier, like even the people that you would think are the supporters and the advocators and the ones that are going to open those doors for you or push them for you or hold them for you, are the same ones that are the ones closing them for you. And it gets so tiring because we're in modern times and there's so many more of us out here getting shit done. And at the same time, I see more and more of this competition not being friendly. It's more on your face. And I was like, and I always have I think I'm going through this existential crisis of figuring out, even within myself, where do I draw the line? Because some of this, I have been pretty good at masking it, and I have been pretty good at navigating, and I can get very political. I can get very political to the point that it doesn't bother me, or I can get very cynical to the point that I'll say it how it is. And I am entitled to that, right? And as you were reading, I, have, this is one of my rights. But at the same time, the moral compass and that emotional compass is what gets tired, because it's we've come a long way, and yet we refuse to move out of the way to let those past experiences by, so that we allow more room for others to bloom and grow and do more powerful things. And I almost feel, I don't know how you feel about this, but with the current even political environment and all this nonsense happening overseas, how do we, in a conscious mind, have the ability to turn sideways and pretend like it's not happening? How can we teach our children that it is okay not to talk about it because it hurts, but at the same time go through our normal day pretending no, that's okay. No, it's not here. It's on the other side of the world. Right. It's so heavy when you think about all of these different concepts, and yet we want to advocate for mental health. Yeah. And then it's hitting you left and right in all the capacities. So it's interesting as you were talking about healing, that is something that we don't talk about healing in the context of even just saying it. That's where it all starts. Even just sharing, that's where it starts. Like, to your point, when I was invited to Quiero Dinero and listening to the powerful stories of all the women, like, are doing amazing things and the things that they have survived, that of in itself has to be so healing for. I mean, even telling my own story, because I remember that was
told your story
the first time that I went public with a lot of my upbringings too.
Did.
And I remember I was like, and I've said it, I've done so much therapy and I've like gone through my own healing paths.
Yeah.
And even thinking through that, I remember I got chills saying it out loud and in such a public manner that I didn't realize how much of a healing avenue that was in itself. So as you integrate the work from your book and you're carrying this message, what is one thing that you're seeing that is also becoming a part of your own healing process through this?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Conquering that skeleton hand, the critical voice, understanding that cuando quebro uno, otro sale.
Right.
Ay, as I conquer un voz, unas frases, otras. La que está, no vamos tan lejos, la de no, pues está bien gorda. La gorda. Esa las he estado escuchando desde how long?
Yeah.
Since you were like 8, right? Since like we were little. So once you get rid of that one, es otras, y otras, y otras. Y que no tienes esto, y mírate acá, y viste esa voz crítica, te mata. Y teniendo los rituales para regresar.
Yeah.
The homecoming. And so that's been a new topic that I've been working on has been a lot of that homecoming. Okay. Returning back to self, having radical rest.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Radical rest, radical moments of like, I'm declaring my space, I'm declaring my time. I'm also working on becoming a certified coach. Yay. I'll be your coach next to like your mental health provider, working on leadership skills, business development, ideation, and mission development, because I really feel like that's to have a good mission, to get to that mantra, to get to that words that you want. Oftentimes where it's like, I gotta do better. The ultimatures don't work for the soul, son. I'm like, sorry, Ma. I'm sorry, Ma, but ultimatures did not work for me when I was 16. Much less are they gonna work for me now when I'm like 56, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. Yeah. Ultimatures don't. So I help women get to that point of like saying something more loving to ourselves, because even in that encouragement. So as I'm encouraging other women, I'm breaking my own patterns of like critical voice. Mm-hmm. The monkey mind, like, all right, like it likes to jump around a lot, and I'm okay with him jumping around a lot sometimes. But I also feel like going through like, mindfulness, mindfulness, meditation, etc. But one thing I learned through this book, and just like in my own healing journey, is that there's so many ways to do mindfulness. O sea, cuando estás lavando los trastes, that's mindfulness, baby. Like when you're listening to music, that's mindfulness driving.
And we're all experts on it, especially as mamás Latinas, that we blast the music on a weekend when we're cleaning. Yes. That's mindfulness. That's mindfulness. That's what I tell my kids. Leave me alone. I need to listen to Ana Gabriel all morning because that's it. But it's so true. Like we joke about it, but what you're saying is finding those moments. And I had a friend here in one of our episodes that even shared, my moments are when I'm driving back from work and I'm stuck in traffic for an hour and I just like get in, listening mode to myself. I turn off the music and I'm in the space of reflection. Yes. Safely, but reflection, whatever that looks like for you. I'm so happy you touched on that, because oftentimes we don't see them as a moment and a space for you to get thoughtful.
I came into this whole like healing journey like 10, 15 years ago, thinking that spas and mindfulness and in que la U and la wa, like that was all for white people, like white women that were rich.
Like a spa? What do you mean? And now I can't get enough of it.
Right. Todas esas cosas que el sound bath y que el masaje, que el no sé qué.
Yeah.
Que todas esas cosas no eran mías. Eran nuestras y eran nuestras en otras maneras.
Right.
Like we always had like... Ahora, cuando fui a México, hicimos esa de donde sudas.
Oh.
Donde estás en...
Like the hot water spring things.
Sí,
Yep.
hicimos eso en la Ciudad de México. No, pero ¿cómo se dice? Ay, es cuando estás ahí como meditación, está redonda. Ay, se me fue
Sauna. I know what you're talking.
está caliente y luego le hacen,
El temazcal.
Sí, sí, porque le hacen, temazcal, sí, creo.
Yeah.
Y que las piedras abuelas. Con las piedras abuelas.
It's like our Mexican version of the hot sauna here at the gym.
Exactly. And it was such a beautiful experience.
Listen, people, we invented that shit. The Mayans started that. The Aztecs started that.
Thank you. That's exactly where I was going at. Like, they got us all twisted and making us think that we didn't have mindfulness. This is exactly why we are so good at what we do.
Yeah.
Because we are machines. We are machines at the most detailed-oriented things.
Yeah.
Like, we're good at what we're good at.
And, it's interesting. You just reminded me. So, I'm big in spiritual work and things of that nature. And we traveled recently. We love going to Cancun. And when we go to Cancun, we love going to like the pyramids and like, the places where they have like the Mayan history and things like that. And we were doing, it was a mini tour and they were explaining like the history of the Mayans and how back in the day, healers used to use like herbs and all these different spiritual elements to heal people. And the tour person said something that like stuck with me that says, we have been healers throughout centuries and generations, and the forms of how they manifest are still stuck with us in today's modern times. Maybe healing looks differently, to your point, and maybe it's a sound bath, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's meditation, but those practices are ancient history. I mean, we've heard it so many times too with, I'm going to blank on the ministers and all of the, what are they called? The people that meditate for hours.
The Buddhists.
The Buddhists, yeah.
Yes.
That's another practice that has, when you think about healing from the inside out, it's such a different experience. And that's something I have not been able to tap in, is meditating in quiet. Yeah. I can do 5 minutes, but my monkey mind, like you said, it starts jumping all over the place. I cannot do more than 5 minutes.
But isn't that enough, though?
It is enough for me.
I think it might need to be. I'm like,
why not?
Exactly. Oye, 5 minutos menos nada is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And honestly, that's kind of my practice. Like, I'm not somebody that sits there for like a half hour a day or something.
Yeah.
I will say that I have done like silent retreats where I'm pretty quiet for about a good 48 hours. But that's a lot of true, like, coming as as an abused child. Like, being quiet is like not that hard for me.
Right.
I don't know others, but for me, it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
But and I do I talk about those types of different healing and healing activities like limpias. Mm-hmm. I talk about baños, the herbal baths.
Yeah, I do them all. My daughter and I, we do a lot of egg cleansing. So we do nuestras limpias de huevo, like to, repel of the bad energies, especially when, like you're having just that bad racha that is just one thing after another. And it's like, okay, we got to do like an egg cleansing or something. We practice those. Obviously, we're not like masters, but I got my little sage that we sage the house. Like, I do believe in those things because I don't know if it's the element of the spirituality, but to your point, is whatever calls you to do that healing space. I am so happy that you mentioned all of those.
Absolutely. And so we do those. I talk about that one. Somebody una curandera had told me to take un baño con café.
Oh, wow. I need to try that.
That was kind of interesting. Yes. That was interesting as well. Blessings and affirmations. Soy digna de amor y respeto. Community blessings. Creating una ofrenda, un altar.
Yeah.
So, un sacred space. No es para una cosa como dinero, lo puede ser más para honrar tu espacio, algo que se vea bonito, algo que te recuerda de que estás tranquila. Eso es todo.
No tiene que ser para Día de Muertos nada más.
No, exacto. Eso, y no tiene que ver con hay mujeres que son cristianas que pueden tener un altar que no es necesario, porque yo sé que ahora sí en la religión cristiana que se ve como si fuera algo para otra cosa. Mm-hmm. No, eso es un recuerdo de tal vez flores. Flores, o un aroma que tengas, ¿sabes qué? Es algo bonito. Es algo más psicológico que lo estás viendo para recordarte en paz. Journaling como una curandera. Writing provides a space for deep introspection. Set aside time, doing prompts, etc. Healing circles, creando tu propio círculo de mujeres o de amistades. Pueden hacer hombres as well. Estaba hablando luego doy number 7, danza, movimiento, like physical liberation. Super important. And luego tú estás hablando de eso, hablando de tu verdad. Y luego al final pongo que descansar. Descansar, pero descansar chido, descansarte de verdad.
De verdad, desconectarte. Fíjate que esa parte me gustaría quedarme ahí un poquito porque una de las partes que yo estoy aprendiendo especialmente en estos últimos meses es la importancia de descansar y qué significa realmente descansar. Lo que decías hace rato de calmar ese monkey mind y no nada más de buscar esos espacios de reflexión, pero qué realmente significa descansar. Para mí descansar era como yo lo asociaba con laziness.
Sí, porque tienes que siempre estar haciendo algo porque si no las manos de
no soy productiva. Estoy en mi casa y no puedo estar sentada en el sillón simplemente haciendo nada porque ya mi mente ya estaba remodelando, ya estaba haciendo otra cosa, lavando y que eso. Y entendí, porque mi cuerpo lo empezó a recibir, que descansar significa simplemente no poner nada en tu plato. Puedes hacer tu día, tus cosas que quieras, pero que sean cosas que te traigan placer, cosas que te llenen el corazón. Por ejemplo, a mí me entró por ahora ser la señora de las plantas. Y yo antes hasta las plantas de agua las mataba porque no sabía yo hacer plantas. Y ahora tengo 40 plantas en mi casa. Pero fue como un healthy hobby que me relaja tanto. Estar hablando, me pongo como loca hablando con mis plantas, les echo su agüita. Pero para mí eso entendí, ¿sabes qué? Esto es descanso para mí. Conectar con algo que me llena, algo tan sencillo. Y yo me estaba enfocando mucho en llenar mi plato con cosas que me drenaban, cosas que a lo mejor no, estaban llenando una parte de mi ego, pero no de mi esencia. Y ahorita que tocas en esa parte, ¿cuál tú crees que es uno de esos retos de descansar y por qué fue algo que tú pusiste en tu libro que te llamó de poner?
Lo puse en mi libro porque si estás enfrentando discriminación en el trabajo, me imagino que estás bajo mucho estrés. Me imagino que te sientes atrapada por el salario que te dan, la aseguranza que te dan. Yo sé que yo me sentí así. Yo dejé que me humillaba muy feo. O sea, a mí me cerraba la puerta.
Wow.
Me corría de su oficina. Me decía cosas. Me dijo que si yo era de otro planeta, que ella no me entendía.
Wow.
Girlfriend, you heard me speaking English this whole time. You go, what? What?
Yeah. But it's, it's a sad reality that how many other people
para
are
que
saying.
vean, yo que ni tengo acento, que disimulo muy bien, supuestamente, que hablo el inglés más o menos, me dijeron que no me entendían. Dígame. Y yo soy clarita, o sea, no soy morena.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yo fácilmente me podía cambiar el nombre, nadie sabría si yo era mexicana o no. O sea, mucha gente le toma tiempo para saberlo. Y está eso, imagínense. So, si yo estoy pasando esto, solo me imagino lo que otra gente indocumentada, otra gente morena, negra, discapacidad, embarazada, tal vez en el trabajo, que modos de discriminación nos están usando contra nosotros. I mean, hay gente que les pegan en el trabajo. Seamos real.
The abuse is not just psicológico y emocional, es físico también.
Es físico, y por eso puse ahí descansar un poco, para darte la perspectiva, para darte el chance de poderte tú mismo amarte, tú mismo darte la medicina que necesitas para enfrentar esta situación. Les di todas las cosas, y es lo que digo en mi libro, nunca les digo que somos víctimas. Eso se dice, eso para qué decirlo. We already know. We were born into this racist capitalist society. We know who we are in this position. And I say that at the end of the book. I'm not going to give us that word, a victim, anymore. We are going to become a worthy opponent. We're going to take the victimization and turn it upside its head and actually liberate ourselves by telling the story that turned us into a victim and then turned us into the very Prince Charming that I had been waiting for when I was 16 to save me from all of that abuse. I ended up becoming that guy.
Like, become your own hero.
Thank
Nobody's
you.
gonna come to save you, right?
No.
And that's amazing.
And I wrote a poem about it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please go for it.
So this is, it's called In Silence. I gain in silence. I win in silence. I grow in silence. So when you catch up to my queenhood, don't be surprised. I was destined to succeed. Testing the mic and owning the stage are two different things. I come from women who crossed borders, who scrubbed floors, who harvested a bounty so I could have the trophy. I survived boys who only knew how to shout out the light and serve themselves, face their blows and their foolishness with a laugh. From statistics to cipher, from poverty to self-love, from being your chisme to being my own business. Aquí estoy, y a mí no me quitan de aquí. A mí no me quitan de mi vida ni de mi felicidad. Not for me, don't worry, we got more than enough. Enchanted mirrors, poison apples, Prince Charming. I was too awkward to be rescued. I was too abused to be worthy. I was too abandoned to be seen. But one day, she whispered, believe. And I followed her through the woods to school, skinned my knees and crawled through the leaves and wiped it clean, my heart.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
It is, and it is so profound because think about the generations that have exactly lived and are still living these experiences in our very own community.
Yeah.
Every word, every sentence, or every paragraph of the poem speaks to true realities of wounds, unspoken wounds that many of our people carry, many young girls carry, and adults. You know, I mean, we don't go too far. And I'm not going to get into that because I have my own biased opinion on this whole Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta. But what I stuck from that coming at an age after so many years and speaking a truth, again, I'm not going to get into the what and how and white Nazi. It was more of a, damn, how many women carry heavy loads, regardless of how they carry them or how it happened.
Yeah.
The fact that it happened and the fact that you carry, how do you live through a life full of that, whether you want to call it shame or whatever, because it manifests very differently for so many people. And I think about our abuelas. I think about their mothers. So many stories that probably went with them when they pass, when, you know, or things are unhealed, things that they never even maybe recognize as a trauma because it was a norm for them.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
And that's what I attended with Midwest Mujeres. Our mission is breaking the isolation of Latinas living in the Midwest by reflecting opportunities and to speak our stories, to break that isolation. I think that's so important when we are talking right now.
Yeah.
Even just us talking about this book, about your book, about your book. Because you're going to wear one too now. Because this book keeps on going. Because the Latinas from the Midwest need to be represented in a way that we have not been before.
Yes.
And by Midwest, I do mean outside of Chicago. Because Chicago is their own thing. Chicago has her thing. She's had her thing for quite a while. But the Midwest, en vez de el corazón de todo este país, donde se crece tanta ropa, tanta comida también.
Yeah.
Because we do, and nosotros pescamos
we're farming
aquí. Yeah, we're farming communities.
Yeah.
De una generación ya se perdió. Yo no sé cómo sembrar esas cosas.
Yeah.
Ni sabría cómo pescar. Pero en toda una generación se movió todo eso.
Wow,
y hay
so
mucha
true.
gente que todavía lo está haciendo y les doy muchas gracias que están haciendo este tipo de trabajo diario. Y por ustedes estamos tratando a devolver momentos de discriminación. Ya cuando se pasan de esos trabajos, ¿qué hacen ahora? ¿Ahora qué? ¿Qué vas a hacer ahora?
Right.
Cuando tú estás cambiando tu vida, esto es para personas que están cambiando su vida en un momento y necesitan como una estrategia que sea fuera de lo que te dicen todo el tiempo, ¿no?
Sí.
Que veas el resumen, que hagas esto, que aprendas el otro. What if it just meant taking a break?
Yeah.
Take a break. Take a break.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to, but still you can kind of do it.
You know
like
it.
A little break.
But it's so true and it's interesting. And I know we're coming up at the end of this, but one of the things in that pause and in that break is actually when the breakthroughs come.
Bingo.
Because,
and that's exactly where I was going. Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Yeah.
I have experienced it myself recently because as I'm sharing, you know, like always be like, go, be busy. And then it's lately, I have just been pausing from life, from noise, from doing, and just really, really digging deep And it's taken me places that I don't want to go, but I have to. Because in those moments of breakthrough is where I'm finding out who I am. And I'm finding out what I'm made out of. And I'm finding out my capacity and my ability, my purpose, that deep down I knew were there, but I never tapped into them because I was comfortable. And those breakthroughs are necessary because unless you face them, how do you go through them?
You really do. And those breakthroughs are the moments cuando te viene la idea de un nuevo negocio,
Exactly.
de una nueva manera de cómo hacer el outreach, cómo atraer más personas, qué nuevos programas, qué colaboraciones puedes tú hacer. Tú estabas en un retiro de mujeres chingonísimas que me hubiera gustado querer hacerlo. Nada más que estaba yo ocupada acá también con
We would do more.
Tenemos que hacer otro retiro donde estamos retirándonos de esas vidas, pero aprendizando entre nosotras mismas and passing the mic. Like literally la tradición es pasar el audífono para otras personas, para que ellas también tengan su oportunidad de hablar. Y a mí no me importa si tú eres cocinera, que eres ama de casa, eso no importa. Tú eres una líder, tú eres alguien en esta vida significante, eres alguien significante en esta vida. En eso es lo que yo siento que es la gran mentira de ser mi mujer, que no eres nadie. Que nunca puedes hacer mucho, que no eres fuerte, esa es la gran mentira en la cual hemos estado viviendo como mujeres por mucho tiempo. Y es tiempo que ya basta y ya empecemos otras cosas. En eso ganando el poder, pero compartiéndolo, porque yo no conozco, no conozco muchas mujeres que nomás quieren ese poder. Hablamos de un poco de ellas, pero también podemos decir que no se quieren. Porque ojalá y que si se quisieran un poco más, podrían aflojar un poco de ese poder o lo que sea, que es todo imaginario en una manera, ¿no? Porque de verdadmente lo que yo siento que es importante es mi familia. Y para eso lo escribí para ellos, para los que vienen en mi familia, pero también un testimonio de lo que hemos pasado. Ahí puse la historia de mi abuela en la que la discriminaron unas cuantas veces, a mi mamá también, lo que ella pasó en el trabajo, porque ese era lo que es nuestra historia, es el trabajo.
Y son historias contadas quizás de algún otro tiempo, pero que si te pones a pensar, it's probably going to connect with someone living it today in just a different way, in a different manner. But I love it. I love all of that. So, of course, we're going to be putting the link para el libro para que lo compren, lo busquen. Ahorita está solamente en inglés, pero en un futuro. Y no importa, digo, te pueden seguir en las redes sociales donde te puede encontrar la gente.
Exacto.
Like, what is your...
es araceliesparza.com. En Instagram, Araceli Esparza Speaker. Y sí, me encantaría tenerlas. Estoy ahorita entrenándome para ser coach. Tenemos nuestros programas de Midwest Mujeres que se llama Voces y Sueños. La academia la vamos a traer acá en Milwaukee pronto. Pronto, si Dios quiere, con sus bendiciones todas, por favor, me encantaría tenerlas en compartir. Y de verdadmente, esto de voces y sueños no son las mujeres como nosotras que ya estamos estudiadas. Yo quiero que sepan que esto es para mujeres ordinarias, haciendo cosas extraordinarias, como siendo como mi mamá, que trabajó más de 20 años limpiando baños y teniendo todavía su casa, creando 4 hijos como madre soltera. Para mujeres como ella lo hago porque yo me imagino if I were to have been meeting her in those years, I would have recruited her to tell her story.
And I commend you for opening that space because I am a huge, and I always say it, we're creating a space where titles don't matter. They matter in the sense of...
For your own person.
But also to open up space and power for spaces like this.
Exactly.
But I commend you because we need a lot more spaces where we can have people, our people, tell their transcending stories in the ways that can inspire generations to come and tell them, this is why you matter, because your story, the way you're living your life, the decisions you're making, everything that you carry, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything makes you who you are and the essence of the core of what we need in humanity today. Because I had uploaded a video for Mother's Day. It was a reel that I came across, and it basically, they were doing a phantom interview. and they were interviewing people, and they were going like, oh, this is a job that, what do they call it? Not the customer, the client. The client requires 24/7 attention.
God, yes.
And,
I saw that. Yes, I remember that.
You have to be like, high energy, and some days you're going to not want to stand up, and you get no breaks, and blah, blah, blah. And I was cracking up.
And then you wake up in the middle of the night because they're sick.
Yeah.
Yes, because they're sick, and you have to make them food, and then you have to clean after them, and blah, blah, blah.
And then they finally say, oh, and by the way, this is a not paid job.
Yeah. It's not,
and then they're like,
paid.
why, you're kidding? Is that even legal?
Yeah.
And I was like just cracking up because it was, I know there was a lot in it. And it's so true because especially, being a mother. But when you think about it from a human sensitive perspective, we go through life doing all these things, being resilient, standing up, getting through experiences, learning, surviving things. And yet we can't put it into words when it comes to saying the story so that it benefits others. And at the end of the day, I always stand with this. In birth and in death, titles and positions do not exist.
That is really true.
Because when you are born, you're born with absolutely nothing. And when you die with absolutely nothing. So what happens in between that gets you into an entitled place to believe that you could be more than others or less than others for that matter? You're just it. You're a human giving and contributing in one way, shape, or form in this world. Whether it's through the things that you're doing, the words that you're saying, how you're, being a companion, whatever your role might be. And especially for all of my women out there, right? Like we carry so much to your point that we have to start honoring that space. So thank you so much for doing that and allowing others. And I probably wouldn't call him, anyone that's ordinary, just any person that's a human being and you're breathing and you're doing things in this life, you are welcome to join this platform.
Absolutely. And the only reason I say ordinary is because they see themselves themselves as very regular working folks, and como que mi historia, ¿tú crees que a alguien le importaría?
Right.
It's always like that. Ay, pero ¿por qué a nadie le importa? Y yo estoy así con la boca por afuera. Like, estoy así como, are you kidding? Yo no entiendo cómo estás aquí conmigo. Y las agarro de las manos porque no entienden que yo no entiendo cómo es que sobrevivieron X, Y. Lo que apenas me acabaron de decir. Me quedo asombrada. Me quedo completamente asombrada. Y son mujeres que no se ven como líderes, son mujeres pero que actan como líderes. Y esas son las mejores líderes que hay. Las que no saben que ni lo son, ni lo actan, no,
van por la vida normalizándolo como, ay, what do you mean? It's just life, right?
Yeah.
Pero it's a life story and a lesson for others, inspiration for others.
Y lo que queremos atraer es esa inspiración de otras mujeres de sus vidas para que otras mujeres la puedan aprender. Y la única razón que yo escribí lo que escribí, because if I can help one person, figure this out, and that's the first sentences that I say, I'm like, no estás loca, no estás loca, no estás loca, se llama racismo.
Wow.
Because it's like, you're not crazy. Like, there's been so many times I was told.
It's so tangible and true pain right now. I mean, we're living it. I said it very, very many times, even in the suburb. We live in the suburbs, and they're doing a lot of racial profiling right now.
Sí.
We saw it. Like, we were driving, and they were behind us, and I was like, oh, okay, they're checking our plates. And then they passed us, and then we were coming back, same road, and then they had another Latino stopped. Same cops, same everything. And so it was like, you can see it. You can feel it, how, this discrimination and the racial profiling is happening in our community today. And this is when we have to be más juntos y unidos que nunca. So, well, we're coming to an end here. But thank you so much, Araceli, for sharing a little bit about your journey, but also obviously about this book and the amazing work that you're doing. So you guys know already, find it, Healing from Radical Discrimination. And the author, Araceli Esparza. Obviously, we're going to be tagging. And for those of you watching the video, you can see it. It's a beautiful cover.
I
remember when you were putting different options for your cover and everything. So I love colibris, first of all. So because they have so much representation. But let me tell you.
You're right. I think you were in a group where I was like, ladies, can you tell me which one to use?
Yes, I did vote for this one.
Yes.
So I am so proud. But the colors, right? Like it's so much life into it. There's so much. Colibri has a history because it's a healing bird, right?
Yes.
And so when you think about the book itself and everything that it tells and everything that it carries, it truly encompasses everything. So congratulations, because I know this is more than an art of work and love. I know this is truly a representation of who you are and everything you do for our community. So I hope that you take that like to your heart. And I'm going to get my copy because I was telling her I had ordered mine and then I screwed up the order.
No, she's keeping this one.
Okay, I got my own book now.
Yes, but I got to sign it for her.
Make sure you guys are supporting because, you know, I'm always big on supporting our own community. But it's an investment. It's truly an investment in learning ways and strategies for real problems happening in our community and how do you tackle them. Because sadly, we've all been, and we can probably identify to probably more than one that you touch in here. So, gracias, Araceli. It was such a pleasure. What would you like to leave our audience with? Any parting words?
Oh, sigue adelante. And, telling your stories es difícil. No es fácil. Poco a poco lo vas a hacer. Poco a poco. Se lo dices a una persona, empiezas con otra, empiezas así, y así, y así. Y luego pronto vas a tener tu propio podcast.
Yeah, okay, why not? You know, it's interesting because right now is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Sí, es cierto.
And at work, they kicked off a campaign, to celebrate mental health. And in one of the articles, there was a person telling their story. I don't know if it was an employee or if it was someone that they just, from the field. And he talks about that the starting on my healing journey began when I told my story. And then it talks about how it started with just even opening up to their loved ones and telling them what they were going through. And then expanding and then seeking therapy and then expanding and going to a healing circle. And by the time they realized that they were 6 months into their healing journey, seeking a lot of the strategies that you mentioned here. And sometimes that's all it takes. Opening up that little availability and the power of sharing what's going on with the world. And you saw it. I had actually posted in social media
I did see
a while ago, like, hey, right now, all I need is prayers. All I need is, uplifting. And the amount of love that I received from people. And it wasn't about the likes, you know what I mean? It was about people genuinely reaching out and
I know,
saying,
I DM'd you. I think all of us, we're DMing you.
And it was just so uplifting to sit in this place of like, people are not asking me what's going on. People are respecting the space and they're truly sitting with you and whatever it is you're carrying. And sometimes we don't even take the moment because we don't want to bother people. We don't want to, like, I don't want petty from now on or whatever we get in our heads. And it took a lot from me because I tend to be a giver. I'm not a taker. I don't know how to ask. And
receive.
I remember I received. Yes. Thank you. I'm going through, a leadership course, and I've talked about this in the past through Life Camp.
Oh, yes.
It has been such an amazing transformational, and one day I'll come back and talk a little bit more about the story because I'm still going through it. But one of the things I learned is that I am definitely not a good receiver. I'm good at giving and I'm good at this, but I'm really not good at receiving. And I remember I was drafting that note, but I was in this moment of like, I just need prayer. I just need that spiritual connection right now. I don't need to talk about what it is or what it's going or the whys, and just having that space and people genuinely reaching out to even just check in. That was so powerful.
Yes. And
uplifted me in ways that I didn't even realize that could be done. So what you talk about here is sometimes just sharing with the world that I'm struggling.
You can even just share what you're not able to share. You can share what you can share, and then you can even talk about how you can share that you can't even share.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole poem about being choked into silence, and I'm choked into silence because of the system. I'm choked into silence because of family legacies. I'm choked into silence, and I keep on going into it. But that in of itself was an expression, because the moment you say nothing about the pain that is happening, they've already won.
Yeah. you're giving into.
You're giving into it. So
I love that.
release yourself. Tell someone that you love and care about something that's happening to you.
Yeah.
And get it out and get your team ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the message. And obviously, you know, tapping into resources to get the book and, you know, where to find us. So we'll be tagging you. We'll be putting links to the book.
You can also request it at your public library. I know Madison has quite a few of them. The Milwaukee Library, me.
Okay.
You can request it at your library and get it for free.
That's a good tip for sure. But thank you so much, Araceli. It was such a pleasure having you here. I know it won't be the last time, and I would love, you know, once you come to Milwaukee to partner and do incredible things. We're going to be talking about more future retreats para las mujeres. So stay tuned on that. And I am so happy and blessed that we were finally able to connect. So gracias.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, mi gente. So you know where to find us. Stay tuned for everything about this episode. And don't forget to grab your book. But until then, we'll see you next time. Adios.
Adios.